4 years the left has told the black community that they are victims of systematic racism that is deeply entrenched in our country. The left claims that the reason the black community suffers as much as they do and have such a high rate of incarceration is all because of white people. While the rest of white America knows this to be a bold-faced lie, it does not help or stop millions of brainwashed minorities from believing this blatant falsehood. That all-out tall tale of victimhood has created an us versus them mentality that has grown into dangerous groups such as Black Lives Matter and the new Black Panthers group. These groups, such as the BLM, has fanned the flames of division by peddling the lie that blacks are targeted by police officers and the judicial system. At first, this dangerous narrative was localized to small militant groups, but it has now made its way into the mainstream media and the NFL, where hundreds of players are now protesting this so-called racial injustice in America. However, their entire premise of their protest is falling apart as more of these social justice warrior players are now being arrested for crimes that shock the senses. Just this weekend, law enforcement in Jacksonville, Florida arrested Kansas City Chiefs defensive lineman Roy Miller on domestic battery charges, and the details of the case are so shocking you would think feminists would be up in arms. In the early hours of Saturday, the police were called to a domestic dispute that climaxed when 320-pound Roy Miller went full caveman and dragged his wife by her hair. According to the police reports, Miller and his wife went out on a date together, but the romantic evening soured quickly when the two broke out into a physical fight. Miller is alleged to have thrown his wife's cell phone in the toilet, dragged her by her hair, and physically assaulted her before the police were called to the scene. Here is more from ESPN. According to the report, the altercation between Miller, who is 6'1" and 320 pounds, and Nicole Miller began with an argument after the couple returned home, separately, from a date. The argument allegedly escalated into a physical confrontation, and Nicole Miller told police her husband grabbed her by the hair, pushed her around, threw her phone into the toilet and prevented her from retrieving it. The report said the woman was able to recover the phone and called police. She told police that Miller had barricaded himself in their bedroom. According to the report, Nicole Miller had a braid torn from the back of her head. She also had a small abrasion on her face and a scratch on the back of her neck. Several children were at the home at the time of the incident, the report said. The report said witnesses inside the home corroborated some of the details provided by Nicole Miller, including Roy Miller restraining her from retrieving her phone. One witness, according to the report, said the couple's bedroom door was slammed shut and she heard thumping coming from inside the room as if someone was being hit. When police arrived at the couple's home, they found Roy Miller inside, sleeping. He agreed to speak with police outside. He eventually was arrested. It was an almost nostalgic moment in terms of the NFL and probably has some fans yearning for the days back before the league got into the racial grievance business. Domestic abusers and woman beaters were commonplace only a few short years ago before they ceded the spotlight to the rebels without a clue. Now, as we all know, this isn't the first time that an NFL player has been caught in a violent act, and it indeed won't be the last. Earlier this month, American freedom fighters reported on Dallas Cowboys former linebacker, Anthony Darnell McClanahan, who was charged with the first-degree murder of his wife, Carrie McClanahan. 46-year-old McClanahan has been arrested for the murder of his wife, 28-year-old Carrie Casey McClanahan. McClanahan is suspected of stabbing his wife Casey repeatedly in the throat at the Park Regency Resort condominiums as of Thursday. Police were called to the condo complex at around 1:30 p.m. local time after another resident of the complex called them due to what they termed as a ruckus in the building. McClanahan himself flagged down a police car around the same time. Police found Casey lying on her bed with knife wounds on her throat. She was pronounced dead at the scene, according to local news affiliate Fox 13 Salt Lake City. So, these NFL players and those who goad them into protesting are facing quite the dilemma that kneeling during the anthem just won't fix. These NFL players and male members of the black community are not being unfairly targeted by a rogue judicial system. No one forced both these men or the hundreds of others in the black community to commit violent crimes against others. The only ones that are to blame for their actions are themselves and no one else. And until they all take responsibility for their atrocious behavior, it will only continue. You see, this is the issue with awarding people with million-dollar contracts for their physical capabilities when they are lacking a moral compass. Maybe, if NFL owners would focus on not only the physical factor of a potential recruit but also the heart of these men, there would be a change. The only way there will be a change is when we demand a change, and that starts with all of us.